All right, it is Andy here with Aaron, talking about the astrology of January 2021. Here we are. We have made it through the cauldron of 2020, and yeah, we'll see what metaphors are going to use for 2021 as it unfolds. So I'm sure there will be some juicy ones. Happy New Year, everybody. Thanks, Aaron, for um, showing your beautiful face here once again.
Yeah, happy New Year, brother. Great to see
Yeah,
you. Great to be on, doing it
yeah.
again.
This is. I'm excited to continue to do this, and I think it would be fun to just kind of jump right in here. So, like I said, my name's Andy. I'm on YouTube, Andy Hansen Astrology. We have Aaron here. He's on YouTube as Honest AME. Make sure you're following both of us. Subscribe to our channels, and if you like the video, share it. Actually like it, comment. We love to hear from you. That's the best. So as we jump in here, I think the biggest shift I think that happens right away in January, that will be a big noticeable change in our personal everyday lives, is Mars entering Taurus. That I see. We've had Mars in Aries since July, August,
Yeah.
and it's been obviously retrograded, and so this is going to be, I think, it's going to feel different, in a lot of ways. And I think, how do you what does Mars and Taurus mean for you, Aaron?
Well, I would love to comment first on the Mars
Yeah.
and Aries.
Oh,
Yeah,
please.
I
Yeah.
mean, because it's like Mars and Aries wants to go. It's home, and it's been in a sign for 6 months is brutal. And when it's in Aries, it's like it's the foot's on the gas, the foot on the accelerator, and we want to go. And this year has been nothing but hurdles and haltedness.
Mm.
So it's almost interesting to have this energy of self motivation activation, right? Aries is self, and it's like, dude, we can't do anything, you can't go anywhere. I mean, you can be self motivated, you can go for a walk in the park or something, but to like, there was a lot of just like, okay, stop, and the shadow work. My God, we've been doing so much shadow work this year.
Mm.
So when Mars finally leaves, it's just like, okay, I'm done focusing on self, or the shadow side of self, which has been brutally fantastic, hard and enlightening at the same time. And to enter the very stiff structural sign of Taurus, only to start butting heads with Uranus. I love it. I think we talked about this before. It was just like, oh, thank God 2020 is over. It's like a little meme, and it's just like 2021 is going to be the best. And it's just like the astrologers are going,
Yeah, we're always kind of just like, should I say it? Should I not say it? Should I just let them have their moment?
No, I have, and even in my past 2 days of doing the dailies, I'm like, I wish I could just say, "Hooray!" It's like, no, we're being constantly confronted with like self go play versus like the authoritative what's right,
Mm.
and we're caught in this really weird limbo right now. And when Mars finally gets out of the shadow, finally leaves and enters the second house of Taurus, now we're dealing with money, we're dealing with our finances, we're dealing with whatever house this falls in for you. But uh, and then Uranus is like, we can expect the unexpected, which is so cliche, but it's like, who knows?
No one knows what's going to happen when Mars and Uranus butt heads here, I think. And it's interesting. I echo all that, and I think that, like, it's kind of poetic that it's like basically right as Mars leaves its shadow period, that it finally enters Taurus too, right? So that's I love that, and I think it's been frustrating because we've had this energy to move, to run. We want to sprint to the finish line, and this year we've had just, I mean, we've been in a box, and we've seen what Mars and Aries does in a box this year. And I think all the shadow work around the Mars energy that's come through with this retrograde sexuality, how we use our energy, um, uh, virtue, leadership, right? I mean, we've all had to re-examine how we look at these things in our life, and now it enters Taurus, and it's just like, what I love about Taurus is considering Taurus within the context of Aries. Aries wants to run, has places to go, has a million things to do, and Taurus is like, whoa, 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 let's just back it up a little bit. Let's slow it down. Like, let's enjoy these steps. Let's smell the roses a little bit. And yes, Taurus is everything that you talked about, right? Finances, material wealth, self-worth, I think will be a major theme for this Mars in Taurus transit here. Is how can we recommit ourselves to honoring ourselves, to loving ourselves, to feeling like we are worthy of happiness in many ways.
Right.
I think that's going to be a major theme for this year. And without getting into too much, one of the things that I've heard from other astrologers that I've talked to is that a lot of people have looked at 2020 and they're saying, well, I see everything that's happening, and I've had a really good year. And so how do I recognize that? How do I feel like I'm worthy of having a good year again? And I think that's what we're going to start to see here when Mars moves into Taurus here is, no, I deserve to be happy, right? And I
Yeah.
think that that's going to be a lot of the work is people working through the karmas of feeling like they don't deserve to be happy in many ways.
It's very true, and I think we're already seeing a foreshadow of that right now. With Venus trine to Mars,
Mm.
and tomorrow we have this kind of grand fire trine that we got the Moon in Leo, we've got Venus in Sagittarius. What we value, the higher mind, so closely conjunct to the South Node as well. So it's like we're still releasing aspects of that part of ourself that says that we're not worthy, which I think is extremely valuable, and we can all have aspects in our charts, in conjunction or some, quincunx or sesqui-square that makes things, I have it in my chart. And it's just like, it's one of those things like you can't, you're never going to be good enough. Just give up now. And it's just like every day there's this like shut up little voice. And I think this Venus with the South Node and trying to Mars right now is like valuing self-valuing, and further, not only just that and letting go of that like kind of beating ourselves up mentality, but the sense of valuing ourselves even furthermore of like, well, what are we doing when our like we've experienced this pandemic round one. I have a strong feeling that we're going to see a very similar thing come in 2021. And I can see like two sides of the coin. Of course, North Node and Gemini, there's always two sides of every coin, where we have a certain handful of people that exercised, that did their yoga, they did their meditation, they got on they started cooking healthily for themselves. And then this other group of individuals that was just like, the world's going to end, I'm going to get drunk every single night and I don't care. And it's like, that is, you can do it on occasions, but it's like, it's just not sustainable. It's not sustainable. And then, you can just spiral down. So it's like, we already have this, Venus trying to Mars, Mars saying, respecting myself, Venus saying, use my higher mind and, our higher education and of what we value. And it's saying value ourselves. And one of the things that I wonder is when this, hose becomes unpinched, when Mars enters Taurus, almost solidifying that, valuing ourselves, valuing our bodies, the holy body temple, valuing our home. It's like if we're away from work right now, it's just like doing the chores that we need to do around the house to purify and clean our, our space. But when we see Mars and Uranus, almost like Mars and Jupiter, or Mars and anything can be very positive, and it can also be like catastrophic, where it's just like it's like, oh, I wanted to demo the wall, and then you just went crazy with your sledgehammer, like too much now. Because it's like we have our planet of action and our planet of just not chaos, but kind of, organized chaos meeting up. So it's just like we can have a breakthrough on one end, that eureka moment of like, oh my God, I'm feeling motivated and want to go. On the other hand, this can be like, I did something and I broke my arm, or I went sledding or skiing and I injured myself because I was going more, and I thought I could take on this. So I there's going to be a lot of positive things that go around it, as well as there's going to be some things that look out for injury.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting way to think about it, because as we come out of this, right, Mars is up to full speed now, and then anything can happen with this Uranus transit, like you said. And I think we really need to be on the watch out for potential accidents. You know, especially with the square to Saturn and Jupiter, right? You know, I think that's a really interesting thing to look at here. And um yeah, I think the one last thing I think is interesting about Mars moving into Taurus here too is like you talked about like taking care of the home, and that I think, you know, Taurus has everything to do with the earth as well, and I think we could see a lot of people recommitting themselves to taking care of the earth and nurturing a connection with the earth in many ways, and I think that could be an overwhelmingly positive experience as well for many people, and I think as we look ahead here, right, we have, you know, uh, just I think it'd be nice to talk about the Capricorn New Moon coming up here next on
Let's
January
let's do it.
12th, 13. And when I look at this alignment, I look at, I mean, everything we just talked about and right conjunct to Pluto. The whole new moon is right there. And it's at, I mean, the new moon's at 23 degrees, Pluto's at 24
24
degrees
degrees.
Capricorn. And it's like, whoa, okay. Like, I mean, I see this is could be another huge karmic release for many ways, and honestly, I mean, massive transformation at this time. Like I can't imagine a heavier new moon to start off this year than a Capricorn new moon conjunct Pluto.
Square Eris. Eris is at 23
Oh, that's right.
degrees
Square
Aries.
Eris. Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I didn't
and
even think of
Mercury
that.
at that time also is at 7 degrees, which is going to square Uranus, 7 degrees Aquarius. So we've got
Yeah.
Saturn, Jupiter, and Mercury all squared to Uranus.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so the new
Yeah.
moon's gonna be great. Honestly, one thing I will jump on and say too about this, and it almost ties back into the Mars, you
Mhm.
know, crypto, man, crypto. We're gonna see new laws coming out here. Saturn and Jupiter and Aquarius, Mars moving into the money sign.
Mhm.
You know, there's a huge amount of like money that we're gonna be looking at, and new laws to me that are coming out about digital
Mhm.
currency. I don't. There's not really a whole much I want to add on that, but just it's to be aware. I think, you know, crypto is going to really start taking a leap, or a new laws and things kind of
Mhm.
coming out there, and it's going to be a huge focus this month because of that connection as well. So yeah,
Absolutely.
this new moon, right? New beginnings, and it's just like me, right? The new moon, come back to like self, and this new
Mm.
beginning. And I look at Capricorn as like, right, where the Pisces energy is like the oneness. Like Andy, you and I are one, you
Mm.
know. And for those who don't know, Andy and I, we were brothers from another mother. We're both tall giants, and we ended up meeting at a festival called Envision Festival a couple years ago in Costa Rica, and we camped next to each other, and it was just instantaneous, you know,
Mm.
like click, which is really kind of a beautiful thing. So it's like the Pisces energy is like we're one. You know what I mean? You and I we're one. We're one of the same being. We're of the same body of light. We're of the same energy. And the Capricorn energy says no, 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 no. You are an individual and I am an individual. And
Mhm.
you are Andy and I am Aaron, and you can go over there and you can exercise every day, and I can be over here and I can drink every day. And the two of us are going to have very different, you know, outcomes,
Right.
right? And it's just like the Capricorn energy reminds us like what we're putting in is what we're getting out of it. That karmic, you know, like, you know, when the chickens come home to roost, are they going to be fat and happy? So it's like we have
Mm.
this new beginning, this very transformative new beginning, connecting with Pluto and square to Eris, which is how we deal with information, how we're dealing with communication.
Mm.
Things given to us is like, okay, we have this great opportunity for a new beginning, and bringing the sense of power back into self.
Mm.
You know, I feel like 2021 is we're gonna really stop blaming people.
Mm.
I hope so, at least.
Please. Please, please, please. But that's not very Eris like. Eris, the shadow side of Eris is to like, you know, sow discontent, right? And to like kind of be vindictive in some ways, right? Um, and so I think that's a really interesting thing to see square here. Especially this month of January as we lead up to the presidential inauguration. Eris, this, you know, the goddess of discord, square Pluto and the new moon in Capricorn representing the power structures. I mean, again, Uranus involved here, anything could happen, right? And I think to your point about cryptocurrency, and I don't want to, you know, I'm sure we have varying levels of people who are familiar with it, but when I think of how Saturn is involved here and how we could see laws, I think this could really be um, when we finally get the long-awaited ETF for Bitcoin. This making it more palatable, more sustainable for institutions and to invest in cryptocurrency by giving a better entry point, I guess, in some ways to the institutional investors. And I think that could be something that we see out of this, and that
Yeah.
will send the price higher than any of this stuff could imagine at this point. So
And everything is favoring it,
everything.
everything is favoring it right now. And even this new moon, in Taurus, in Capricorn conjunct Pluto, which is finally like, Saturn's gone, Jupiter's gone. I can do my work again to change the structure.
Yeah.
It's changing the infrastructure. It's changing what's going on, and it's just like, oh, finally we have this new this new breath, this new look at government, this new look at and not only the government that exists, but our personal government and how we're governing ourselves, which I think that's what the big key is. And going back to that, like, no more blame. It's just like, we can blame the pandemic, we can blame a virus, but it's just like, what are we doing with our time? And I think that's what this a lot of the beginning of this year is going to have to do with, again, coming back to valuing ourselves, honoring ourselves, honoring our body, honoring our emotions, and putting in the honest work. And the Capricorn energy is all about putting in the work. It's like, I can't go to the top and lick the salt for that goat. The goat has to get up and do it. You know what I mean? And that's like the epitome of that Capricorn energy. It's like, you have to do it yourself. If you want things to get better in your environment, you have to do it. And it's just like, with this new moon conjunct Pluto, transformation of how you are perceived as an individual in this life and your personal position of authority. How
Yes.
cool is that?
I mean, it's really special, this alignment. I truly believe that. And like, quietly, we just have, like, Venus directly square Chiron too. Just like, I mean, bringing up relationship karmas and all these sorts of triggers that come up. I have Venus and Chiron conjunct to the same degree, the exact same degree, opposite Uranus in my natal chart. Not to get too into it, but it's a really intense. So whenever Chiron transits are there, I know I'm going to be put through the ringer. So, and I think, yeah, I think as we look ahead too, I mean, we were talking about it, January 20th, we have Inauguration Day, right? And this has been a buildup for the United States here since November here. And, I don't know really what to expect. And I think anyone who does think they know what to expect isn't really familiar with astrology. Because as we were talking about earlier, I mean, we've got Mars and Uranus directly conjunct, 6 degrees Taurus, pretty much directly square to Saturn and Jupiter and Aquarius here on the day that we are supposed to be inaugurating a new president. And I don't know how that's going to go. How are you interpreting this aspect, Aaron?
It's the future. This is the future. Aquarius is the future. I think it's interesting that the majority of the presidents of the United States were Aquarians, not the current one. I don't think either of them are. I don't remember Biden's chart.
I don't actually remember his sun sign either. I know Trump's a Gemini, but
Yeah, that's terrible. I'm gonna look it up
yeah, check it
while we're
out.
talking here.
Yeah.
But either way, with so much energy, we got Mercury, we've got Saturn, we've got Jupiter, we've got the Sun, all entering the sign of Aquarius.
Yep.
3 of those planets are square to Mars and Uranus, which are both going to be actively stirring things up. They're both actively changing things in a very dramatic way, right? There's that Mars energy that is a wrecking ball of wrecking balls in the zodiac, and then we have this square. I look at Uranus is the wrecking ball, Saturn is the immovable force. So we have an unstoppable force and an immovable wall. That's conflict. And we have this new energy coming up, this new electee, this new, turn of power, which Saturn is kind of that power figure in the zodiac. And it's saying we got to make changes in this brick wall, and the brick wall doesn't want to move, doesn't want to make changes. So this is conflict,
Mm.
and it's just like, how do we resolve this conflict? Well, we're entering uncharted territory, and we've never been here before. Have we elected new presidents? Yes, but we've never been here. We've never been where we're at in humanity in this time.
Mm-hmm.
With the technology that we currently have, with where we're at is I feel like there's going to be a pull to go in this direction, or technologically, a pull to go in this direction, and then a stubbornness on another hand of traditionalists saying, no, 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 we don't need to do that. And that to me is a huge aspect of this conflict. What will happen with with people? How are we going to, interact with each other during this, hopefully as peacefully as we can be, but it's like we can't stop this train from moving. Like Superman's not coming down to stop this. It's like we're entering a new era, we're entering a new age, and no one on this planet has ever experienced this. No one on this planet has ever gone from the age of Aries to the age of Pisces. We all are moving from the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius together. So that is going to come with growing pains, and is going to come with conflict. So
It's just the way it is, and I think you nailed it. The unpredictability, the future, right? We there has to be an element of a sustainable future to what is unfolding within our power structures at this time, and the aspects that are not aligned with this Aquarian age are going to, I mean, likely come up against a lot of pressure, and I think especially in conjunction with this new moon in Capricorn, and we talk about Pluto ruling transformation change. It's death too, right? And with Neptune so heavily featured as well, I think it's really easy to think about like there could be just there could be a big surprise here. There could be a really big surprise. And again, anything that I throw out would be wild speculation. So I'm not even going to bother. If you want to talk about that, hit me up. And I'll speculate wildly a little bit more off the record. And it's interesting to look at here. I hope that what is coming of this is that people are beginning to recognize that we can't wait around for the power structures to create the new world, that we need to go out and make it ourselves ultimately, and that what we need to do is actually create systems that will become more powerful than the ones that we currently have. So that's the vision that I have for Aquarius, and that's, I think, what we could be starting to see here is that people just become totally dissatisfied with what we have and finally feel empowered to just go out and do it on their own with the help of their communities, right? Aquarius.
yes, yes, I couldn't agree with that anymore. And we're going to find the power in the numbers this year. And as well, like that conflict we're talking about, we could certainly see from our last president some conflict of not wanting to step down, or wanting to again, it's like, which one of these is the brick wall and which one of them is the force that cannot be stopped. It's like, okay, well, change is the force that can't be stopped. So who's the control issue that's coming up that doesn't want things to change? And that's certainly what's going to be. Whoever's the control issue, the control freak that doesn't want change, is like, this is the only inevitable in life, is that change.
Wow.
Get ready, because here it comes. So we're going to see a lot of things topsy-turvy, and that's right, that's Uranus too. It's like the planet that spins sideways.
Oh man, yeah, you're not kidding about that. So I think we're gonna see what happens here. It's gonna be really interesting right around inauguration day. I think the month of January, it really 2021 kicks off with a bang, just in every way. And I think finding out personally, on a personal level, where is Capricorn in your chart, right? Where is Aquarius in your chart, and looking at the houses that are there can be a really good way to start to harness some of this friction, some of this conflict in your life. And then I think right away we can just jump ahead of we finish the month with the Leo full moon. You know,
Not only that, but we got what? We've got oh, sorry, that's not until the last of the month. Mercury leaves Aquarius into
Mercury.
Pisces.
Well, yes, exactly. And Mercury goes retrograde the last day of the month.
That's right.
Yeah, so it doesn't actually get into Pisces.
It doesn't get into Pisces. That's right. It
No,
retrogrades at 26 degrees of Aquarius. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Venus. It's Venus that enters Aquarius
yes, exactly.
on the
Venus,
last day of the year, or last day of the month. Yeah,
Venus enters Aquarius. Mercury goes retrograde,
in
and
Aquarius.
in
So yeah,
Aquarius. I mean, there's a lot going on here, and I think it just is so poetic that the last day of the first month of 2021, Mercury goes retrograde. It's man, it's
you
interesting
know.
to look
Go
at.
ahead.
Well, it's interesting to look at how the Mercury retrogrades have affected the pandemic so far, and what role that has played within this. And so I think looking at how Mercury retrograde could be pulling some of the levers relating to coronavirus is interesting to think about here as well. What were you gonna say?
I don't remember.
Okay, yeah. Anyways,
Must have been sweet.
it probably was. Gosh, I always do that. So yeah, I think that, and then this Leo full moon is a big one as well. And I'm sure if you're looking at the chart there and you see that
Hmm.
big T square between, I mean, we have the Sun conjunct Jupiter and squaring off with Uranus,
Mars and Aquarius. Mars and Uranus.
Mars and Uranus and Taurus.
And
I mean,
Taurus. Yeah.
yeah, it's I at this point, Jupiter is starting to move out of the shadow of Saturn a little bit. I think we'll start to feel a sense of spaciousness within that, and hopefully know where our foundation lies for this upcoming year, right? And then we have this Leo, this joyful, creative energy, right? I mean, it's in a very egocentric energy at times as well, right, Leo? And so I'm a Leo moon, so any Leo full moon, I'm always like, yes, I need it. Come on, let's go. So, but again, it's gonna be my 12th house, so subconscious, unconscious, hidden aspects.
Yeah. And if we remember this time last year, all the energy was in Capricorn, right? We had Sun, Jupiter, Saturn, Mercury, everything, Venus, everything was in Capricorn. Now this year, everything is in Aquarius. And it's interesting that this full moon, how much Aquarian energy we have, it's like the gravity is toward the Aquarian energy, which is, of course, the director of the show, opposed to the Leo energy being the star of the show. And our emotional need wanting to express and be creative and be ourselves. And all of this other energy is saying we need to be the director. We need to have a game plan. We have to have a bigger focus than living in the moment of just this day. And I think that's been a huge aspect for 2020 was I'll just live in the day, live in the moment, live in the now, without a real plan. It's like, well, and this is how we get kind of swallowed up, without having that, the sustainable concept for a future. And with all of this Aquarius energy pulling us towards saying like, no, we need to not just be the star right now, but like take a seat and draw out a game plan. What do we really want 2021 to be like? What do we really want our lives to be like? Where do we foresee ourselves going? Although this is not a Virgo energy, like sit down and list and write everything out, nonetheless, it still has that, take it to the drawing board and make this vision board for what 2021 is going to be like for you, because the outside elements exist. And they're going to exist. It's going to rain, it's going to snow, it's going to thunderstorm, there's going to be sunshine and rainbows, there's going to be parties and glory, there's going to be anger, resentment, and frustration and conflict. All of these things are going to exist within this year, just as every year of our lives, but it's how well are we maintaining our balance? How well are we, directing our energy or managing our personal, professional lives? Personal emotions in a professional way. It's like how the actor or actress wants to respond emotionally is different from what the director needs from. So I just see this, and you're right, with this T-square as well, to Uranus and to Taurus, my money is my my
Oh
things. I want to
yeah.
go my way and do this. And who are you to tell me that we, so there's
Mm,
certainly a sense of playfulness, but there's certainly that conflict and balance as well between, hey, how are we managing our budget this year? How are we managing our finances? How are we managing, do we have a game plan for the future? Do we have a game plan for 6 months? A
mm.
year, 5 years, regardless, once again, regardless of the other elements, because they're always going to come, you know.
Yeah, yeah, I see that like a huge tension playing out right between like our personal finances and our collective finances, and our financial system is going to feel a lot of pressure. There's going to be a lot of pressure on our food system. There's going to be a lot of pressure on our financial system. The world in general is going to really be feeling the tension between I need to take care of myself and we have to take care of everybody. Right.
Yeah,
And I think when I think of T squares, I think there's just like that pressure towards the focal point, right? And one of the ways that you can start to balance that is by working with the opposite of it. And so opposite Taurus, we have Scorpio, right? And so bringing in some of this maybe depth of energy in here, maybe like working with some of the you know uh, shadows is another way that we can start to bring some balance to the pressure that will be created between this tension between myself and all of humanity.
sure.
Yeah.
Right. And valuing and coming back to that value that we were talking about earlier, I want to value this day, but how can I best value this day? And is valuing this day best for me in preparation for a better tomorrow, or is it exhausting my resources today?
Mm, mm,
It's a really interesting aspect there
mm.
that you know it to live on our best today is a very important thing, but then there's like a weird irresponsible narcissism that can go with it, like, oh, I don't care about anybody else's thing or whatever, I got to do me,
Yeah.
and it's really weird that I'm bringing that up, but it's very relevant. It's just
Yeah.
like, oh, seeing it's like somebody in the store without the mask on right now. It's like we all have to do this, like we all have to, in a sense, fall in line or play by the rules, or to respectfully treat each other, and this energy of like, I'm gonna do whatever I want, me kind of thing. It's like,
Mhm.
how is this helping us in this moment for the greater?
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a really good point of just kind of recognizing that, okay, yeah, maybe your individual passion needs to take a little bit of a back seat right now because we have to make sure that society is still here. We have to make sure that humanity is still here and that we are building for the future. So I love that, and I think to your point about that as well, like we could start to see some of yeah, like Leo's just like me, how can I shine the brightest here, how can I get what I need here, and I think we're going to see a lot of pressure building, and for Mercury to go retrograde at the end of the month is just like a okay, now let's just take a step back and see what just happened. I think we're going to really need to come in and reflect upon January very strongly as a collective and an individual basis and see, okay, wait, what do we want to happen this year?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the beauty of Mercury retrograding in Aquarius. Is like, no, we're not done with this energy.
No.
We often want to, eat one bite and jump onto the next thing, before even swallowing what we have in our mouth.
Yeah.
And this the beauty of the Mercury retrogrades. Is like, no, humans, slow down, rethink this. You're
Mm-hmm.
not ready for the next step yet.
Mm-hmm.
We've only given you pieces of the puzzle, but you can't solve it and crack the door to the escape room yet. There's still more that needs to be solved, and we oftentimes, with this energy, can also be, because there's so much sight on the future. It's like we can see the top of the staircase, but we want to be there without doing the steps that it takes to get there,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like Pluto back in Capricorn. This is like slow and slow and steady wins this race. There's no rushing this,
Mm-hmm.
and even if we can see it, we can see the finish line. We still have to put one foot in front of the other to get it done. There's not just I'm there.
Yeah, which is honestly very harmonious with Mars in Taurus for me too, right? Because Taurus likes to take its time with each step, right? Taurus does not skip step two to get to step three. Taurus is methodical about that, and this will be, I think, a really good way to create a sense of structure for how we approach this year, and understanding that no, each of those steps along the way is very, very important, and we need to
Right.
give them the care and attention that they deserve, because we're not just building for this next year of Jupiter and Aquarius, we're building for the next 2000 years here, ultimately is how it's working out here. And so I think having Mars and Taurus here, although it will create some tension and friction, I think is again a blessing here for just like understanding that, okay, we're up to full speed, but we have to take it slow. There's no
Right.
rush. There's
Right.
no rush into the age of Aquarius. We've been waiting for a while. It's going to be here for a while.
Yeah, so we might as well do it right, you know.
Yes,
And it's
yes.
like we can look back and say we can really look back and say like where we're at right now with resources, our economy, how humanity is treating one another, our brothers and sisters out there. It's like we messed up,
Mm.
you know. It's like if there is a grand creator, or if there is some aliens that created us, whatever it is, if they're actually watching humanity, oh, that's what they're doing. They're just like, come on, guys, this is still where we're at, you know. So I feel like we've got a lot of. I don't mean to be. I don't mean to be so hard on us. I just, like we just have an opportunity to really turn things around.
Yeah.
To make money make sense, it's just like money is turned is money is a very it's very a corrupt source of energy right now, and how the money works is very corrupt. So it's just like
Yep.
if we can push this new digital currency to make it for humanity, it's like, oh my God, this can be great. And if we can change the infrastructure of the financial systems, if we can change, how well we just sit with ourselves,
Mm.
you know,
Mm.
I think that might be another need. While I've still got this full moon here in Leo pulled up, and seeing
Mhm.
like how much community energy.
Mm.
And it's something that this year has been very difficult. 2020, pardon me, we're in 2021 now, but last year was very difficult with, I wanted to, go be social. Obviously, some things weren't open, or it's like, well, now I have work coming up this week, so I can't go do those things and risk, by chance, connecting with this virus and then laying me out where I'm not, now I have no money or income or anything like that.
Yeah.
Um, Totally lost my train of thought on that one, but it's like we this
You weren't
pull
able
to
to be
be
with
a part of
community.
the
Yeah.
community, right? Pull it being part of the community versus like sitting with ourselves, sitting alone, and then when I'm looking here at this lonely moon in Leo,
Mhm.
and all of the moon's friends are over in Aquarius, like this big party.
Yeah.
To me, this is just like, can we bring it in here to where we don't always have to be going on the go,
Mhm.
looking or seeking for the next thing, the next rush, the next emotional bump, the next energetic bump, the next energetic high, the next 3-day retreat, the next festival, the next concert, the next thing. 2020 limited all of those things for us, and some people still manage to squeak through the cracks and get out and get things done, where there's a lot of folks that have to just sit and learn themselves, and it's extremely
Mhm.
uncomfortable. And I think part of this Leo energy is saying like, look, this, like, own it. This is you. Whether you're surrounded by 20 people or 2,000 people, you're still responsible for your emotions and how you feel.
Mm.
So, enjoy it.
Enjoy it, and find some joy in working for the collective as opposed to just working for yourself, right? I think that's really something that I see here in a big way is, understanding that, we need the polarity of Aquarius and Leo, and the power is merging them into one, and finding joy, finding creative balance within this, and like, yeah, finding creative ways to be with community. Aquarius needs community, it craves community, and like we're still not through this pandemic yet, and so harnessing technology, and finding creative ways to feel like you're part of something more than just yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anything you want to finish off with for the astrology of January here? Anything you think
We
we
got a
missed?
strong month. The only thing we didn't talk about is Venus really, is going to be in Capricorn for the majority of the month until the very end. And
Mm-hmm.
Venus in Capricorn it's about signing the paperwork, man. It's like
Mm,
if to me it's like if if it's not real, don't say it. If it's not real, don't feel it. Like it's like Venus wants love, and Venus wants to love, and when it's in Capricorn, it's about commitment.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
So whatever Venus is, whatever it's like, whatever we're entering into here this month, Venus just wants us to commit. So if it's, hey, it's saying I'm going to sit with myself, Venus is saying I want you to commit to that. I want you to feel what it feels like to be alone.
Yeah.
I want you to feel what it feels like to feel this. If it's sobriety, right? A lot of people are changing, this new year. Hey, I realized 2020, I spent months, I'm not saying me, just in general,
Right.
months, boozing it up or whatever it may be. I'm going to try something different. So
Mm-hmm.
Venus is saying, okay, I want you to commit to that feeling. I
Yes.
want you to feel pain. I want you to feel
Yes.
these emotions. I want you to feel whatever it is that you're going through, and you're going to make it through it. Like you're gonna get through it. It's a
Mm-hmm.
day, it's a feeling, it's a moment. We have bad moments. We usually don't have bad days.
Mm-hmm.
So Venus just wants us to commit to whatever we're doing, through the joy, through the pain, through whatever, and to come out shiny and new, I suppose. And then what I've got to pull at the 28th, conjunct Pluto at 25 degrees. This is
Yeah.
same right on
On the full moon. Yeah.
on
We
the
didn't
full
even talk
moon.
about that. Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
Wow. I mean,
uh,
and
jam-packed month.
jam-packed month, and plus, Venus just had its South Node transit too, and so I think you nailed it. Commitment, like finding ways to commit, because like we have this new values that we need to now bring into our world, and we have all these new things we want to do. Okay, put the foundation in place and commit to doing it for yourself.
It's perfect. Yeah. Put
Yeah.
the foundation in place, create it, create the
Yes.
infrastructure.
Exactly. You can't climb the mountain of Capricorn if there's no foundation there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, it's been good talking to you, Aaron.
Beautiful. Thank
And
you.
thank you all for watching. Like I said, Honest AME on YouTube. I'm Andy, and we'll see you next month to talk about February.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year, everybody.